Einstein's theory of hypnosis. One of the problems of science is it is outside of our intuition. Even things like large numbers are hard to understand. So when they make infographics showing how much different sums of money are in real terms, it makes it more real. Like the government will pass some bill to spend $1 trillion. Million, billion, trillion. To most people, these are just vague descriptions for bigger and bigger numbers. But when you see a stack of $100 bills representing each sum, it's jaw-droppingly astonishing. You could carry around $1 million in a regular backpack and nobody would know. But 1 billion is 1,000 stuffed backpacks. 1 trillion is 1 million stuffed backpacks. If you are a world-class scientist who has some decent credentials and a way to metaphorically explain science, you'll become famous. When Stephen Hawking wrote the first edition of A Brief History of Time, his publisher said, "The more equations you put in the book, the less people will read it." If you can straddle the world of science and mainstream thinking, you can make a fortune. One of my favorite metaphors from science came from Einstein in his explanation of relativity, kind of a half metaphor, half joke. Anyhow, the metaphor paraphrased, relativity is when sitting on a hot stove for a minute seems like an hour, but sitting on a porch with a pretty girl for an hour seems like a minute. You can't consider two ways to shut down your conscious mind. One way is the very coveted flow state. When you are doing something you've practiced a long time to a very high level of skill, playing guitar, rock climbing, boxing, etc. It's when you're out of your head and simply flowing. That's one way, and it takes a long time. Another way is the Einstein reframe. To find yourself in such a wonderful situation, you forget about your conscious mind and just flow. This is what happens when we watch really engaging movies. Like sometimes when I'm watching a really good movie, I quickly check to see how much time is left. When there is a lot of time left, it's kind of the same feeling when you glance at your clock in the morning. If you realize you've still got an hour or so to sleep, it feels really good. But if you've only got 10 minutes, it's one of the worst feelings there is. When I'm flowing along with a movie and there's still plenty of time, I can go right back into trance and shut off my conscious mind just like going back to sleep. Even better is when you're having a fantastic conversation and you and your conversation partner are both in the flow state until one of you glances at the clock and realizes you're late. That's about as bad and depressing as checking your alarm clock, hoping you've got an hour left to sleep, but you've only got a minute before your alarm goes off. With practice, you can learn how to create the mutual conversational flow state where time flies by just like Einstein predicted. To learn how, visit mindpersuasion.com/3x3.